Our group was assigned to research and develop an ethics and compliance program that would universally benefit companies across the workplace spectrum. An ethics and compliance program is a system of guidelines that a company implements in order to ensure that all aspects of the business operate ethically and contribute to a moral business world. These are in place to eliminate discrimination, harassment, unethical behavior, and keep core values within the company. Originally, these programs were taken more seriously after the Enron scandal, where thousands of jobs were lost and investors lost billions. Another prominent scandal would be the Health South fraud that was due to an unethical behavior in cooking the books and sending leaders of the business to federal prison.
When we first sat down to discuss how we were going to go about creating a successful ethics and compliance program, we decided to interview professionals from the field as well as do our own research. We found that there are 7 essential elements that make up an ethics and compliance program. In theory, the application of these crucial elements would lead to a successful blueprint.
Element 1. Standards and procedures. A company must establish standards and procedures to prevent and detect criminal conduct and communicate them effectively. If a company expects its employees to do the right thing, it needs to communicate through standards and procedures what the right thing is and how it can be accomplished. It is equally important to communicate this information to employees in a concise, practical fashion rather than through cumbersome legalese.
Element number 2, leadership and oversight. A company must appoint a specific senior executive ethics officer. However, a company's governing authority, typically its board of directors, must oversee its implementation. In addition, all management, not just those with direct oversight of the program, must understand the company's policies and procedures.
Element 3. Ethical top-down approach. A company must use reasonable efforts not to give individuals who have engaged in illegal activity or other conduct inconsistent with an effective compliance program a role in senior management or supervisory authority over the program. This does not impose an absolute bar hiring individuals, yet when making hiring decisions, a company should consider the degree to which an individual's record of misconduct relates to the individual's anticipated responsibilities.
Element 4, communication and effective training. A company's compliance program cannot merely look strong on paper. The company must effectively implement the program through education and training. Training should not merely recite the law, but should explicitly explain the company's policies and ask employees to think through complex gray areas they may encounter in day-to-day tasks.
Element 5. Auditing, monitoring, and disclosure. A company must audit its compliance program to make sure its elements are actually being implemented and periodically evaluate the program's effectiveness. Separately, a company must provide employees with effective mechanisms through which to anonymously or confidentially report potential misconduct or seek guidance on compliance issues, protect such individuals against retaliation, and adequately follow up on their reports.
Element 6, enforcement, discipline, and incentives. A company must provide appropriate incentives to encourage employees to comply with the program and impose appropriate disciplinary measures when employees fail to do so. It is important for the company to enforce these rules consistently to maintain the credibility of the program.
Element 7. Response and prevention. A company must address misconduct after it occurs, including, at times, self-reporting to the authorities, and must take reasonable steps to prevent similar misconduct in the future. In addition, a company's board or audit committee must receive regular and meaningful reports on audit results and the status of corrective action.
After learning about the 7 elements of an effective ethics and compliance program, we decided to take these learnings to professionals already in the ethics and compliance workplace.
We interviewed 3 professionals, Nancy Schumann, Mark Meany, and Joe Amato, to hear their experiences with ethics and compliance programs. From Nancy, we learned that having multiple resources for ethics and compliance communication works best.
So Molson Coors, like a lot of large companies, have multiple ways that you can both report violations as well as ask questions. So it's everything from you can go to the ethics and compliance department directly, you can go to the legal team, you can go to your local HR. Managers all get trained in how to deal with these questions. but also anonymous reporting tools. So the biggest one there is they have a hotline, an ethics and compliance hotline that's managed by a third party. So the third party receives a call. The caller can be completely anonymous. They can ask a question. They can report something that they think something fishy is going on. That question then gets relayed to the ethics and compliance department, but kind of leaving that person out of it so that there's this intermediary between. So it's a totally anonymous way of raising your concern. So that was a big piece, was just raising awareness of this resource. A lot of employees just don't know it exists. As much as you can put up flyers, people don't read them, they don't see them.
We learned that a retaliation program helps in preventing unwanted reactions from the workplace as well.
So another big piece for a lot of companies with ethics and compliance is a retaliation policy. So if you raise an ethics and compliance kind of complaint, or if you say he's been doing a horrible job and he's been asking me to change the books and I think it's unethical, I think it's illegal, that as that gets investigated, he's not turning around and looking at his team and saying, who turned me in, and then finding out you did and firing you. That if you raise a concern in good faith, you are protected by the company no matter what happens, whether or not that concern is found to be true or not. So just kind of reminding employees that that's in existence and helping show them that that truly happens. I think it's a hard thing for companies to make sure it happens, but is a really important piece of an ethics and compliance program as well.
Next, from Mark, we learned that the most effective and efficient way to design our program is to combine two different techniques.
Essentially, it was a deterrence-based model of ethics and compliance. Here are the rules. You violate the rules, we will catch you. And if we catch you, we will punish you, up to and including termination. Now, those who advocated for this strictly rules-based approach usually came from the law. And not just the law, they were usually former federal prosecuting attorneys. And their default is, you disobey the rule, we're going to catch you and we're going to punish you, right? On the other hand, you had an alternative school of thought that was comprised chiefly of folks like me, right? They could be coming out of HR, right? They could be lawyers who are focused on workplace HR issues, not federal prosecutors. They could be folks like me coming out of business ethics with a background in corporate ethics program development, etc. And our argument was that the focus should not be on deterrence. The focus should be on commitment.
Finally, from Joe, we learned that we want to avoid programs that interfere with conducting our business.
If I had any power over that, with just so much of the regulatory environment gets in the way of us just even doing business and making just smart business decisions with using common sense, that a lot of these laws, you spend more time on laws and regulatory things than you can actually, working on good products and services for customers.
We decided on these 4 elements in our ideating as major success factors because they were common factors amongst the professionals. Our next step will be prototyping and implementing a program. When prototyping, we will need to keep in mind that we want a universal program. In an ideal world, we want to create a standard set of policies that will prevent discrimination, racism, and unethical decision-making. So check back in soon for our final project. I'm going to redo that little paragraph, sorry.